Welcome to the Deucecast Extra. We thought maybe we would talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife, just because, I mean, it's going to be a while, at least from a Deucecast standpoint, that we're going to have another Reflections episode. So I wanted to take some time and talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife before we jump into Yellowstone. As you can see, Dr. Earl is not joining us for Ghostbusters Afterlife. In fact, I doubt he's even watching the stream because he hasn't even seen it yet. Being a doctor, he's a super busy doctor. And especially during the holiday season, I'm sure things get crazy at the clinic. And so he just hasn't had a chance to go see it yet. So I'm sure he's trying to avoid or watching it on mute, which I think Nick even mentioned he was going to watch it on mute because he hasn't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife
All right, guys, let's
either.
spoil it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a fun movie. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about it. And I mean, I hated to do like a week of this without Garrison also. I mean,
I hope he doesn't take that comment seriously, Nick. I hope Nick was not listening, and I hope he doesn't take that seriously.
No, he's here. As you can see, he's here, but I think he's got it on mute. Yes. I'm not sure. I think he's got it on mute. He told me he was going to do that. Nick got some new ink this week, is what it looked like to me. I don't know if I'm supposed to share that, but he got a pretty cool looking tat. Okay. But that's out there.
You should see all these tats underneath my shirt.
Yeah.
I'm not a tat guy. I don't mind them on other people, but I've just never felt like getting a tat myself. But Garrison, I didn't want to go a week without you being on the show. You've been here since we started doing the Star Wars stuff. You've been here pretty much every week, right? I mean,
yeah, you guys did it. You guys started doing Yellowstone stuff last year during season 3. I started watching you guys, even though I had no idea what was going on.
For Yellowstone, yeah.
Then you guys started up on. You pitched the Mandalorian startup where we would rewatch season 1.
That's right.
And you brought me on board for that, and I've been there since then. Through the days
and I was
through the days of even having Rhett on this panel at one point, and then we'd never come back to that.
Do you guys notice how quickly that changed? He's not on the panel anymore. I'm just, No, Rhett actually does better in the chat. He helps the chat out more than when.
And I saw on Facebook he liked this movie.
He did.
Yeah, I saw that.
He really did like this movie a lot. In fact, like me, I mean, I remember seeing the original Ghostbusters when I was a kid, obviously. And so like me, this had quite a bit of nostalgic moments in it. And I teared up a little bit during that third act. I'll be honest. I teared up a little bit during that third act. Roth, thank you for joining us during the first part of Deucecast Extra.
The cowboy hat is on standby.
I know, obviously. I mean, I haven't decided. I think I'm just going ball cap tonight. I know there was calls for the cowboy hat last week, but it's over there. I'm just going to leave it over there for tonight. Because I've got to work out the headphone thing with the cowboy hat. It's not been easy.
Little Bluetooth ones.
I got to get some or at a minimum some earbuds. Which those are hard to find nowadays without the microphone, and I'm afraid that would just cause all kinds of problems. I have no idea what that would do, like double voice stuff. But so Garrison, first of all, what was your history with Ghostbusters? Like, had you seen? Obviously, with your dad, I'm sure you'd seen the first 2.
Oh, first 2.
Yeah,
I've never seen the second one fully through.
What?
I have seen like bits and pieces of all over the place of it. So like I know the gist of it. I know what happens in it, but I've never actually sat down and just fully watched it straight through.
That's
the first one
enough.
I have seen all the time. It is a classic in this household. My dad doesn't care for the second one, so he never really showed it to me, and I just kind of caught it on my own.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. I mean, I think a lot of Ghostbusters fans were disappointed in that second one, but I still like it. I still have fun with it. I think there's some really good Bill Murray stuff in it. I still like it quite a bit. And so, Roth, is it my understanding that you watched Ghostbusters 2 for the first time this week?
Yes. So I probably watched the first Ghostbusters like 3 or 4 years ago for the first time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pop culture aware of it. One of those movies where you know everything that kind of happens. Stay Puft, Marshmallow Man, whatnot.
Yeah.
And then this previous Saturday, we went after the Wyoming game, after Wyoming destroyed Utah State, by the way.
There you go.
We wanted to go see Afterlife.
Yes. By the way, I'm offended that you even brought up the state of Utah, since they took out my Ducks, and now my Ducks have zero chance of anything except maybe a Rose Bowl if they find a way to win out.
7, man, that's brutal.
Dude, it was. Anyways, I'm traumatized by it a little bit, but
I would be as well.
I mean, because this every season. Anyways, keep going, Ross. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. So I went to go see it with my mom and brother and his fiance Saturday night.
Cool.
And I went in. I'd seen some good reviews about it from our kind of geeky circles that we run in. And I was like, this movie I think is probably going to be pretty good. And so I went in with not necessarily high hopes, but I loved it. It was awesome. Definitely teary-eyed as well in certain parts. And then I was like, I really need to watch 1 and 2. I need to watch 1 again, and I need to watch 2. Then you said you want to talk about it on the show. I was like, yes, that means I definitely will be watching 1 and 2 before we talk about it. So I have a little bit of a frame of reference. Very nice.
This is pretty funny. Dr. Earl. We've de-aged Dr. Earl. We've got some de-aging technology that we're using, so that's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Like I went in not knowing what to expect, and I'm not here to disparage the Paul Feig, however you say his name, Ghostbusters. I've only seen that movie once. There was some okay things in it, but I like some stuff that Paul Feig has done.
Just say Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, I liked Chris Hemsworth in it, and I like some stuff that Paul Feig has done, and so I'm not here to disparage that film. But after that, I was like, are we really gonna try this again? Now, obviously, you've got Jason Reitman involved, Ivan,
and very
involved, executive producing. You had the buy-in from everybody, but unfortunately Rick Moranis, which I still don't understand, but would have been. And I kept waiting for it. Like I was still hoping, like through the whole movie, that we were going to get just like a moment, like throw us a commercial, that cell phone commercial in the background or something that he was in, just for fun. But I'm sure they would have had to pay him a lot of money for that, so they avoided that. But so yeah, you go in, you're scared, you're like a bit traumatized by the Paul Feig Ghostbusters, and you're like, are we really going to do this? Man, I mean, it was just so good. It's not a perfect film by any means. No. I think this is Rhett's like new thing. It's got pacing issues. Like every movie that Rhett sees, he says it has pacing issues.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think it. Mikey, I will tell you if I think something has pacing issues.
Yes, I don't think it did either.
Pacing issues.
Yeah, I didn't think it is either. Now, I mean, every single one of these type of movies where you've got a younger cast, I don't know if it's like a subconscious thing, but I've got the problem with, in my mind, I'm always comparing everything to Stranger Things.
I'll tell you why. If you keep
go ahead.
On,
no, I want to hear why.
Exactly why.
I want to hear why.
Well, because so they started. The first 2 acts of this movie are not a Ghostbusters movie, which is fine. They're setting up the myth of this story being that the Ghostbusters have kind of become a myth in this world. Their jobs were done, and so they've kind of faded into obscurity almost, and are being told as ghost tales and stuff like that. And so the kids don't really believe in ghosts, and so this story kind of starts out as like a Goonies adventure or a Stranger Things adventure, and what better way to do that than to bring in Finn Wolfhard, of course, because if you're going to do Stranger Things like it, you hire Finn Wolfhard, to be in your 80s movie, even though it doesn't take place in the 80s. But
sure, that feels like it does.
It feels like Stranger Things because they're going for that exact vibe.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have the kid podcast saying things like, "Oh my gosh," which is a very 80s kids thing. It's not a thing that kids say nowadays.
Right.
So I mean, they were really playing on 80s kids movie tropes in the first.
Well, and even the soundtrack was a bit of a throwback. It had a lot of classic. Like I went and saw it with my father-in-law, who huge movie fan. Like he is the one that really encouraged me to do the AFI thing, do the Oscar thing. Like he wants me to watch all the old stuff, and he's a huge like Route 66 guy. And so the music, he was just real. I could tell. I sat next to him. I could tell that he was feeling the music. Like he was very into the music. So you know, it even felt like, hey, maybe this is like a little bit of a throwback type of movie,
and
which
it
makes
also
sense.
Used a bunch of the soundtrack from the original Ghostbusters,
Of
the
course,
theremin and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Roth, I mean, what did you think about like that Stranger Things vibe? Did you get that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. The test of a movie that employs the kids is how good are the kids going to be. That's an obvious thing to say, but I think all these kids were very good, and we can expect that from Finn Wolfhard. But McKenna Grace, this is really the first thing I've seen. Tanya. I think she played a young Tanya in that one. This is really the main thing that I've seen her in, where she's been a focus role, and she was awesome. When we first meet the character, I was kind of hesitant. I was like, I'm not quite sure, and I think it was the kind of partially the relationship that her and her mom had was just a little weird.
Yeah,
but you kind of get used to
talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, I think they all killed it, for lack of a better.
No, you're right. I mean, and even the kid that played podcast, we were talking about it off air, that, I mean, this is the first thing this kid has ever done. And he's just really good in it. I mean, he's just very solid. I didn't see, it was like, okay, this kid's got to have been in either a Disney or a Nickelodeon show, and he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't in anything. So he, he came out of nowhere, and he was really funny in it. And I think that the humor in the film was very much like probably a tame version of Ghostbusters, because, Ghostbusters, whether you want to believe it or not, did have quite a bit of adult humor in it. Even though it was rated PG. I mean, in the 80s, a PG movie will have adult humor in it. And obviously you've got, these are adults in the cat, and you're not following a bunch of kids. And so, yeah, sure, the humor was a bit different, but I think it still worked. It wasn't overly cheesy. I mean, there was some cheesy stuff in it. There was the typical, and I think that he probably needs to start choosing roles where he's not the awkward kid. Like Finn Wolfhard, I'm having a hard time believing that he is the awkward kid who can't get the girl. I mean, I think he's aged out of that a bit. And
yeah, he's still got that awkward kid face, though, not to be mean.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're right. I mean,
yeah, he's still kind of nerdy looking.
He is still nerdy looking, but he's starting to get, I don't know. He just felt, and it was funny because I don't know how old he is in real life, but the fact that he was trying to play like a 15-year-old, I guess, or a 16-year-old.
19? If I'm doing
right. That's the thing. Like that's why I'm like,
he's almost 19. But when he shot this, that would have been 2 years ago. So he would have been about 17. Yeah.
It's crazy that this was shot so long ago, but I guess a lot of these movies that we're getting this year are in the same boat, really. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I think that it was wise of them to wait for the third act before they really brought any of the original Ghostbusters, other than the Dan Aykroyd phone call.
Yeah. And the Dan Aykroyd phone call is key because it sets up, he knows to go there then.
Right, exactly.
It's just a tease.
Yeah. And I have no problem with them bringing Gozer back. I had no problem with it. I can't remember if it was you I was talking with, Garrison, but I thought we were going to get the line, somehow Gozer survived. Very like a Star Wars type line. Somehow the Emperor has survived.
Yeah.
Somehow Palpatine.
If we want to go there now,
let's go there.
The Star Wars comparison is very easy to be made with this movie.
Yes.
This is how you treat your legacy characters. You treat them with the reverence, and in doing that, you don't push the new characters down. You lift them up to be on their level, which is what I think the people with Star Wars were afraid of, pushing Rey and Finn and Poe down and to bring in Luke down. They thought that's what they had to do, but no, obviously you don't. Have them fight with each other, or whatever story element you want to use, but this is how you do it.
Yeah, literally every single person in that little third act battle at the end had a role. Every single one of them had a role. They all did something in that. It was actually kind of crazy. I was thinking like, okay, well, someone's not going to be able to do something. Someone's going to be sitting on the sideline. But no, everyone did something.
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. The storytelling was good. I mean, was I'm not going to say it's better than this, and I don't want to do the Star Wars thing here, but I mean, I think that the Reitman family knows what they're doing. I'll just say it that way. I don't know. Jason Reitman, I've liked most of the things that he's directed, and I think he's a super talented director. And I know that, and I'm glad that he waited this long into his career before he did a Ghostbusters film. I mean, because that's got to be a tough thing for him. And I think he said in interviews that this is something he never wanted to tackle, but no, I think now was the right time.
Yeah. And he had his dad sitting at the monitor with him. So when he'd go back, I mean, he had a lot of good guidance for this film. So
yeah.
I got to say, once the legacy characters came in, though, I mean, the humor that they bring, that specifically Bill Murray brings to it, he's still got the chops. He looks like hell, but he's still got the chops.
Yeah. I mean, Now, who doesn't look like hell, though? Ernie Hudson still looks ripped. That dude still looks like he could, I mean, obviously he looks older, but he still looks pretty good for his age. And apparently, if the series continues, which you got to imagine with the box office that we're getting for this thing, that the series is going to continue, that his character at least is going to be in some part, have a pretty big role, which I think that's well deserved. I think that Ernie Hudson is a guy who, for a really long time, has kept the mantle of the Ghostbusters films, at least from a fan side of things, because he goes to all the conventions and does all the Ghostbuster stuff, while you've got Dan Aykroyd, who just sits on the sideline and says he's got a script that he wants to do, like over and over and over again. That's over
while pushing his vodka that almost killed Larry King.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ask Aykroyd for a script, I bet it's like 400 pages.
Right.
Do you know how big his original Ghostbuster script was? I mean, it was around 400 pages. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing that I was thrilled about is that Bill Murray came back in a big enough way. Like, I was afraid, and he wasn't a ghost like he was in the Paul Feig thing. And now let's talk about that. Like, what did we feel about the Harold Ramis ghost?
I thought it was really tasteful.
Yeah.
It was a good way to resolve the conflicts that they had kind of set up earlier in the film. This daughter feels like he didn't actually love her, but he actually did.
Yep.
He abandoned her because he knew that the world was going to end if he didn't do this thing.
Right.
And it still feels terrible if you're the daughter. You still have to go through those years of living without a father and thinking he didn't care.
Yeah.
But there is some resolve there. You get a lot of just him looking at people, and I love that they didn't use a fake voice.
Yes,
because I think that would have ruined it a little bit for me.
And they could have. We know they have the technology.
Yes, he spoke with his looks, the CG looks, and I think it was tastefully done. I think it was about as well as you can do that kind of thing.
Well, and I mean, his family obviously had to sign off. His daughter had to sign off on it. I think she's been out there a little bit on Twitter or somewhere saying that the family was okay with this. This is what the family would have wanted, and I think it was a great tribute to the character and to Harold Ramis. Really, I mean, not just the character. I mean, Harold Ramis was a big part of the writing process with Ghostbusters, because he was a successful screenwriter at the time, and so he was probably very heavily involved in a lot of that. Roth, I mean, did that particular part for me gave me all the feels. I mean, to use a stupid term, but
yeah, and like I don't know. I guess I probably had different feels than it wasn't necessarily nostalgic feels. It was the feels that like, oh, like this is nice, like a person from like a family member's like coming back to life, like that or not. You're seeing the ghost version of that's the type of feels that I got, just because I wasn't so entrenched with this. to be honest, I could barely remember his character from the first one. I was like, man, I know who they're talking about, but I just couldn't. I could barely picture him. And that's why I want to go see it again, just because I've now seen the first and second one recently, so it's in the forefront of my mind.
And I think that even if they hadn't done that, even if they hadn't done the Egon Ghost, the McKenna Grace character was a good enough tribute, even if they didn't go there. I mean, because I think that she was so much like the Egon character in a lot of her traits that was a great tribute also to me. I mean, I just loved seeing that aspect of it also.
But I think it was a great move to do the when all hope is lost, she turns on her proton pack, and he sort of like Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire or something, is standing next to her, also shooting it with her. Clearly putting more power into it, I guess, but the power of love.
Exactly. And something
you would get the power of love if you've seen all of Ghostbusters too.
Yeah. Okay.
This is true. Love Lift Me Higher. Is that the song they use? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
As the Statue of Liberty is walking down
the Statue of Liberty is walking down the street. Rhett being a huge Ghostbusters fan, I'm sorry he's having to miss this. I'm sure he's in rehearsals he's in Little Women. I don't know if he's announced that anywhere, but he's in.
Is he the dad?
He is the older love interest.
Oh.
He's not the dad. He's the older love interest, which is really weird. Anyways, so he's in rehearsals right now, but I know he saw it just last night, I think. And he went by himself, because I had already seen it, and all our other friend groups were not available, but he loved it. He loved the sound of the proton packs, and he says Ghostbusters is like maybe his favorite movie of all time. So he has seen it a lot. He thought that the sound of the proton pack was perfect. Now, if he were in the chat, he would be disparaging Paul Feig violently. Like, it would be brutal. So I'm kind of glad he's not here.
I saw Ghostbusters 2016 for the first time. And I was, I came into it with low expectations. And all I came out of it was like, okay, Chris Hemsworth. Yeah.
Right.
Great comedic actor.
So it's funny with that. Like, I bought on Vudu, they were doing some sale on the first two in 4K. So I bought the first two on Vudu for 4K, and they threw that one in for free.
Yes.
They threw the 2016.
I got it for free as well.
Yeah, they threw it in for free.
That's the only way I'll watch it, is
because who's going to actually purposefully go out and want to purchase the 2016 Ghostbusters? Nobody. I said I wasn't going to disparage the movie.
I know.
I mean, like I said, I'm being way tame compared to what some of the things Rhett said about that movie. So we'll just leave it at that. As far as
I want to see it is so I can know what Rhett would be talking about.
Oh man, he would just rip into it if he were here. So the adult characters, I think the casting, Carrie Coon is awesome. I've loved, for me, when I think Carrie Coon, the thing that I loved her in was in Fargo. First of all, when I think it was the first season of Fargo she was in, first or second, and then The Leftovers. Those are the only two things I'm really familiar with. I know she's done a ton of stuff, but for me, and obviously she's in the Marvel films, as voicing Lady Proxima, or not Lady
Midnight.
Yeah, Proxima.
I said Lady Proxima, like from Solo. No, Proxima Midnight.
Proxima Midnight. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
When I saw Proxima, I'm like, yeah, Lady Proxima. That's
Lady
the right
Proxima. Name. So she's super talented actress. Like, if you've seen, and she was in Gone Girl also. She was really good in Gone Girl. I think that was her.
I haven't seen that since it came out.
Yeah, I've only seen it the one time, but I think that was her in that. She's just great, and I thought she was good. I mean, she laid it in pretty thick about being the disgruntled, daughter, but
yeah,
that's okay. That's fine.
I thought it worked.
It worked.
They were all trying to lead it down this path of you don't understand. Nobody understood Egon until it was almost too late.
Yep, and Paul Rudd, he successfully did the assignment that he was given.
Yes,
I mean,
Paul Rudd.
He was Paul Rudd, which is not a bad thing. There's been some conversation in the Deucecast Discord this week about Ryan Reynolds and perhaps how Ryan Reynolds, for some of us, is getting a bit much. And this is in reference to Red Notice, of course.
Yes.
But I think Paul Rudd, let him continue to be Paul Rudd, and I'm fine with it. I mean, because it's not that.
And
horrible.
I've also seen serious stuff from Paul Rudd, and I know he can do serious stuff, and he's got a good range as an actor.
He's got some random series on Hulu right now.
It's not all this one quippy thing, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. And I mean, and it was fun getting to see him trying to woo the lady or whatever. You know, there was some funny stuff with that in there. So, you know, I'm totally okay with Paul Rudd.
And yeah, I've actually seen a fair amount of complaints about Paul Rudd wasn't in this enough. The trailers, and he's front and center of the poster, and they're like that. They're kind of blaming the movie for that. I'm like, you can't blame the movie for what the marketing team does. It just doesn't really work that way. Paul Rudd's a huge name, so obviously he's gonna.
Yeah, they tried to hide the return of the Ghostbusters, even though, first off, toys had been in Target for like months.
Right. Yeah.
I actually thought I got spoiled, and then I looked it up online, and the toys had been out for months. You know, they put out a trailer, I think, a week before the movie, where they finally flashed a second of the old Ghostbusters.
Right.
But yeah, they were trying to hide some of the third act stuff, and you know, his role gets minimized there a little bit because he becomes a dog, a terror dog.
Yeah, and I don't, you know, I don't blame them for marketing it the way they did.
No.
You know, you don't want to like spoil the big reveal. I mean, everybody
especially
knew
if it's
going in that
only thing you've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like No Way Home. If Toby and Andrew is the only thing they got, I'm totally okay with them not showing them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's tough to market. Yeah, I mean, that's really tough for Spider-Man to have to hold them until the very end. They'll randomly show up.
By the way,
I agree. Even though we all know
Hollywood, but I don't want to see him until I'm sitting in that movie theater.
Totally the same way. Totally the same way.
It
is. No, it is. But I totally, you know, I think that there's going to be some stuff in that movie that surprises us, though. I mean, I don't think they're going to have every single thing in that.
I mean, we don't really know the plot totally, so sure.
No, I don't think we have any idea what's going to happen in that film.
At least Mikey and I don't. Garrison, you might.
Yeah, Garrett. Well, or if you're Rhett, he's read the script, or claimed to have read the script of every
Rhett
single.
Has not read the script.
He claims he's read the script of every single movie that's coming out ever. So I mean, he claims he's seen it on Reddit or something, which I don't go on Reddit, so I don't have any idea.
It's a scary place.
I try and avoid it at all costs. Really, I just don't need to know anything. Well, unless you guys have anything further to say on Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think we all loved it.
So.
I loved the joke between podcasts saying his podcast really took off on the 46th episode, and then Dan Aykroyd, obviously repeating the same line. Also is just a very Dan Aykroyd thing because he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's a nut. He would listen to that.
I think podcast response was like, "You're my listener.
You're the listener,
my subscriber.
You're the subscriber." Hey, I feel that.
I did feel a little bit attacked by the character of podcast. Anytime podcasts are brought up in movies now, I'm like, do we have to do this?
Yeah. Totally. And I totally feel that. So
it's also weird having podcasts and movies, or even like when people like FaceTime somebody, which didn't happen in this one, but like my mom was watching an episode of Law and Order SVU, and one of the characters FaceTime somebody. I'm like, that is not supposed to happen in movie and TV. That's too new of a thing.
It was like the whole plot of Searching. So
don't watch Locked Down on HBO Max.
Oh God, I hated Locked Down.
That's
that
such
movie.
A terrible film.
Now, what was the one that Soderbergh directed that used social media in an interesting, or at least texting in an interesting, Unsane?
Was Unsane. That's right.
That was okay.
That was shot on an iPhone.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was some stuff in that, and
I will say it's different when like they're using that as the purpose of the movie, but when it's like just thrown in there, like it should be. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but it's just kind of shocking to see.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Well, one thing I definitely wanted to do is to remind our viewers that we are definitely going to be coming back next week and talking about Hawkeye. That is going to be able to be viewed in a few hours. I mean, it's not a thing. It's not a thing you have to wait for. I mean, it's like coming very soon. And I can't decide if I'm going to stay up for it or not. I kind of want to. Like,
it's 2 episodes. You can go to sleep, Mike. It's okay.
I know, 2 episodes. Like,
I'm recording another podcast after this, so I am going to be up.
You're recording another podcast after we do Yellowstone? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, dude, you're a
Thanksgiving week. Everybody's busy.
He doesn't live in the time zones we live in, Mikey.
This is true. You're like, actually, I'm starting to think that maybe you are in the best time zone because it's not. It's not West Coast time. It's
football. Primetime football starts at 6.
Yeah,
it's starting at 5 in California. It's way too early.
I'm starting to like be jealous of your time zone now. Like I used to say, Central is obviously the best, but I think
because noon games start at 10 now, Mikey. That's awful.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're very right about that.
They start at 11 here. The early slate of NFL is at 11.
Early slate of
college football starts
NFL
at 10.
is 1. NFL is 1 p.m., sir.
Nooners, you wake up with it.
College football. Come on.
Mountain West is the best.
I'm starting to believe that. I'm starting to believe that time zone is really solid, at least. So yeah, I mean, like, and okay, so Garrison, you said you had run times.
Yeah. At least this is what the media was sent for their screeners.
Okay.
First episode, 47 minutes. Second episode, 49 minutes.
Wow. So we're getting 2 long-ish episodes then.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that the most of the episodes of the season are going to be that length then, around that length.
I would say so.
That is solid. This show, I think, is going to have some huge reveals that are not being talked about a lot, that I'm very excited for, that I don't want to spoil necessarily, because I think people are trying to stay pretty spoil-free on it.
I really like these Marvel shows.
Exactly. I know who you're talking about. And so I'm so pumped. And this thing I saw today, this particular character is going to be in 4 upcoming Marvel properties, and I'm like, no way they're gonna do that. I won't say the character name because I don't want to spoil it, and it was a clickbaity. It was a clickbaity site, so I'm like, I don't know if I believe
it. But it didn't mention Hawkeye, right? Because
it did not. It did not. It did not mention Hawkeye.
It mentioned Echo.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
we're on the same page here.
And I'm like, really? 4 things? That's insane. But I'm ready for it.
Its own thing.
Yeah. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Sorry, Roth is like, what are you guys talking about?
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm okay with not knowing.
See, I sit on things like this. I know, Mikey, I knew this weeks ago.
Roth, it's okay to be blind to what we're talking about.
It's nice because I get the pop when it happens. You guys are like, oh yeah, Roth, I knew that was coming.
Roth, it's kind of spoilery, honestly. So yeah.
It is.
I've heard a lot about this. What is it? The pizza dog? Is that the name of the dog?
Oh, Lucky the pizza dog. Yeah,
Lucky the pizza dog. I don't know what the hell that means, but people have been talking it up. I watched some preview. Know this stuff before going into
Hawkeye,
and I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm ready to fall in love with the dog. I guess.
I just love that the animals of the MCU are getting their own character posters.
So all you got to know about him, Roth, is he's lost an eye, and he likes pizza.
Yeah, that's all you got. I mean, what dog doesn't like pizza, though? Also,
I don't have great vision, and I also love pizza.
Exactly. So, anyways, all right. Well, we will be back, of course, next week for the first part of the Deucecast Extra, where we talk about Marvel and Star Wars stuff, to talk about Hawkeye. Garrison, thank you so much for joining. Kind of like not last minute. I didn't totally spring it on you. I gave you a couple days notice. Yeah. So I appreciate you joining us. As usual, and I keep forgetting to do this, but Garrison, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at SUPASH3. You can find me on Letterboxd at GRyphon. That's most of the social media I really use. You can find me on Discord, on the Deucecast Discord, and that's about it.
Awesome. And Roth, you're about to be back, so I'm not going to ask you that same question. We are about to jump into our Yellowstone conversation. Garrison, again, thanks so much for joining, and I definitely look forward to talking Hawkeye with you next week. Yeah, I'm so excited for this show, like more than I can imagine being excited for a show, just because it feels like a Shane Black show to me, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm very into that. And I saw like an interview with the writer compare it to like Hallmark Christmas. And I'm like, dude, just say Shane Black. Don't say Hallmark Christmas. What are you doing, man? So as
That's
usual, we're going to have our little transitional period here. And then in just a minute or so, we are going to talk about episode 4 of Yellowstone. Thanks again, Garrison. Welcome back to the Deucecast Extra. We are back to talk about a show that I continue to love more and more and more.
Yes.
Yellowstone season 4, episode 4 specifically is what we're talking about here. Roth, welcome back. You were in the first part for once. So welcome back to the Deucecast Extra. We've already got some participation in the chat. Garrison, thanks for stopping by in the chat, man.
got some cowboy salutes.
Cowboy salutes, exactly.
Howdy.
Dr. Earl, I understand.
Not in the first episode.
I know. I understand why you skipped the first part.
I can't be spoiled, bro.
You're a busy man. You're a busy man. And look, I mean, the transition video worked to perfection. Nick, I will say this every week. I don't care that you're calling for it in this case. That transition video owns me. I could just listen. I could just listen to that music. Like I was like enjoy. I don't think I've listened that far because we took a little bit longer break, and it gets even better. Like as you let the transition video play, it gets even better. So, let's talk about this episode. I loved the Jimmy stuff we got in this episode.
Shocked that he's still in this thing.
Well, I think this was the last time that we're seeing Jimmy.
I was going to say that, but then I was like, "What? I've said that the last 2 episodes. I'm not going to say it again."
I know. I think this was finally speaking of transition, I think this was finally because there was some really good poignant stuff even between him and Travis. Like Travis showed a little bit of, different side of himself this episode. He's still, a hard ass a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, he had some good conversation with Jimmy, I think. I mean,
he gave him some advice.
Gave him some good life advice. Told him he's got to love the horses, man. You can't just do this stuff for anything but the love of the horse. You got to love the craft. I mean, that's why we're doing the Deucecast Extra, because we love the craft. Right. You just gotta love the craft.
We don't love the audience. We don't want the applause of the people.
Oh, nope. Nick,
couldn't care less.
We will get to this, Nick. That was
man.
Yeah, we will get to that for sure. But let's talk about Jimmy's state of mind going in, and I love that we can just call it the sixes because that's what Travis called it. So we're just going to call it the sixes.
He's headed to the sixes.
headed to the sixes. So Roth, we're getting the idea from this episode that the sixes, first of all, is massive. Apparently, like anything in Texas is going to be massive, but we're getting this idea that this place is huge, and life changing. Apparently, like because even Travis, like if you can get through the sixes, you can get through anything, right?
It's like Navy SEALs of cowboying.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting that.
All right,
popped in my head. Just popped in my head.
I love it.
That totally explains it to me because I've been through the training.
Yep.
Oh wait, no. Oh, I'm sorry.
I've been through the sixes, so
I thought you said Easter SEAls. I'm sorry. I haven't done Navy SEAls.
Look, I mean, we've all seen Charlie Sheen in Navy SEAls, so we know exactly what Roth is talking about there.
Right. So is it? So it's like a training ground, is what it is, really.
Well, no, he's just saying as far as like it's
if
going
you
to
can
be
get
difficult.
through this, you're not going to go through anything harder the rest of your life.
Exactly,
type of thing.
It's just going to be really a difficult type of place because it sounds as if they demand excellence. Because of who they are, which is, the biggest ranch in Texas. And so, yeah, that's basically what Travis is saying. And I'm just more impressed with Taylor Sheridan each week. I mean, yeah, right, Nick. It's a Charlie Sheen in Hot Shots type of training. Exactly.
I'll try to put it as for you Southern people.
Yes, please explain it.
It's like going to play football for a Nick Saban. Where
that's understood.
I get that. Okay,
he's gonna make you into a man.
He's gonna make
by
you
the time he's done with you.
I'm sensing Jimmy's. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
was Taylor Sheridan really riding some of those horse?
I think dude is legit.
Sure he was. Yeah.
I don't think that this is just some stunt double on these horses. I think the dude is legit, like very into this lifestyle. I think
he was very that horse, wasn't he?
He has like totally bought into this lifestyle so much that he's making 3 shows about it, basically. So, because I think right now there's going to be 3 total shows. And some people are saying that Mayor of Kingstown is in the same universe, but I don't think it is. They mention Wyoming in the first episode.
Now I have to watch it.
But it's like
it's not set there though, is it? Right?
No, it's in Detroit,
it's in
or it's like in Michigan. It's a fake place. Kingstown is fake, but it's Michigan is what like it's supposed to be.
I saw Coach Taylor and I figured it was in Texas.
No, it's Michigan.
Okay.
No, it's a Michigan type thing. Yeah.
I get that. Right.
Oh.
Thank you.
What's Nick throwing some shade? So you're going to get paid to drive an Escalade and play football. Ooh.
Bear Bryant going to play for Bear Bryant before came to Alabama football.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, and I think obviously Jimmy is still pining for Mia. He's trying to write this letter to her. He can't get up the gumption. And Mia's not in a great place. I don't think she's going to be in the show much longer. She's basically saying she wants to leave.
She wants to get back to barrel racing or whatever she was.
Right, and that makes sense.
Get back out on the circuit. Her and
right, and it's we see some of that come to a head. Not to go into the Lloyd stuff, but
no, I mean I think we've
exhausted
Jimmy stuff. Yeah.
With the Lloyd stuff and her kind of pining for Jimmy and confused with Laramie. What are we doing? Why aren't we out on the rodeo circuit? Like, this is where we make our money. Why are we just hanging around cowboying for, I'm assuming, free? Because I doubt John Dutton would be paying those two who can't even rope, according to Lloyd.
Exactly. And I was going to make that exact point. I mean, Lloyd is like kind of fed up with this whole, situation. Mia, was she even out there helping with the cows at that part?
I didn't see her.
I didn't see her. I mean, Laramie was out there at least trying to help a little bit, but
Tatar was out there.
Oh, well, yeah, Tater's out there. Tater, who's apparently a great cook of all the cow.
Everything that you don't eat in the cow.
Everything that you don't eat in the cow. Exactly.
That guy spit it out. I like that.
But yeah, I think Laramie is staying there for nefarious reasons, in my opinion.
I'm surprised Rip hasn't like kicked those two out. Like
you would think
that
so.
Scene. Well, can we get to the Lloyd scene just for a minute?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Rip punching him is fine, but I thought he should have worn Walker out too, because Walker was in that fight and he kind of gave him a pass, which I thought that didn't seem very Rip-like. Seemed like he should have said, "You two are gone." He should have told those two girls. But
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this stuff is necessarily over. But I will say this isn't just a love of the Laramie character because of how she looks. But I do think her actual character does enjoy doing this cowboying type of stuff, not just doing the barrel racing. So I don't know. I don't know. I agree that she knows that she's getting under Lloyd's skin. She knows that she's being able to pit Walker and Lloyd against each other. She enjoys that. But I don't know, when she's out there, looks like she's actually doing work is what I think you're supposed to get from the show.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, I
just don't
think
want to see her go.
No, I don't.
I think she's at least participating in the cowboying stuff more than Mia is. I mean, because Mia's kind of just checked out. I mean, she's done. I mean, Jimmy's gone. She doesn't really have any reason to stay, so she wants to get back to work and do what she's good at, which is the barrel racing, and do what she was like making a living at. Laramie, I don't know. I think that this, obviously Rip comes in and just lives up to his name and just rips the crap out of Lloyd. I mean, that was brutal. I mean, that was tough.
I mean, he's an old man. He can't take that kind of beating.
Well, right, exactly. And he said, right before he did, I hate that you're making me do this. And I'm like, dude, that's a tough life. That's a tough life to have to deal with. I mean, because we've seen fighting in the bunkhouse before, and it's never been to this point where there's no fighting in the bunkhouse. I mean, what do you think is going to happen with a bunch of cowboys? I mean,
well, I do remember. I can't remember who it was because I haven't rewatched the show besides the marathon they had before the first season premiere this year. But I do remember something about Rip telling somebody, if you're going to fight somebody on this ranch, it's going to be me.
Well, somebody was fighting with Jimmy, right, or something.
Yeah.
It was
Jimmy was getting picked on,
and he took him down, dude.
Yeah, that's right. It was one of the other hands that was,
and he was like, "Okay, I'll come." He's the guy they took on the long train, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying who the head of that bunkhouse is, and it's Rip. I mean, there's no, Lloyd was trying to be, and he and that was another thing that happened kind of earlier in the episode is Lloyd kind of did something wrong and got called out on it.
Day, bro. We're putting drops in eyes. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, even John called him out on it, and that then at that point ticked Rip off because that kind of reflects bad on Rip. If Lloyd is doing something that basically he was trying to cut a corner because he was like, it's easier to do the medicine if we have him go, in the pen, and to John's point and Rip's point, you're going to infect every freaking animal in here if you bring them in here. So
then they'll need to bring in ivermectin, and that's really hard to get now.
Right, exactly. I mean, ivermectin, you can't even find the stuff anymore. It's a good point. It's a very good point. So we get some interesting stuff in this episode.
Beth.
So why wait a minute. I need to see what Nick is saying here before we move on. As the doctor, can Earl speak to the nature of those cows passing gas on each other's pillows and thus causing our pink eye?
That is not funny, Nick. I had pink eye in both eyes on a baseball trip in high school, and it was not fun. I didn't see a single pitch. I sat on
brutal.
The bench. It was brutal.
Dude, pink eye is nothing to mess around with, man.
Yes,
you're like, I'm seeing ghosts, coach. I can't see anything. Thanks for the derail there, Nick. That was a good one. So you want to talk about the Beth stuff? I mean, she yet again is offered a deal from Market Equities.
And that was a great scene. Whoever that lady is
Jackie Weaver. She's a great actress. I mean, she's good. I'm telling you, dude. I've said it every week since she was watch Animal Kingdom. You need to watch that movie. I mean, she's so good in that movie. But Ellis was not happy about the way Beth was speaking to him. He was very disrespectful.
I would not be clutching his pearls.
He was clutching his pearls. He was not happy.
I was in shock.
Yeah, Beth has a mouth on her. You know, she doesn't suffer fools. I mean, she's, you know, if she can tell you have a weakness, she is going to exploit that weakness. I mean, that is part of her game. I mean, is to exploit weaknesses. And I think that she realizes that this Caroline Warner person does not have many weaknesses.
No. Well, she knows she's up against somebody who's
a formidable opponent, right? I mean, this lady was like, bring it. I'm ready for whatever. Deal. It's not quite an offer she couldn't refuse because, you know, she knows her dad wouldn't go for it. But I mean, again, well, I mean, and even later in that episode, Beth was like, the thing that I asked for, which was for her to take, you know, a higher percentage of ownership in Schwartz and Meyer than she already has. Right. That's something that she knows that Caroline's not going to give her. So that's why she said it, basically.
I don't know. You think she won't?
She alluded to that when she was talking to her dad.
I think she will.
I think she will too, because I think she's gonna. I think what
situation,
whatever her name is, I can't remember the actress's name or the character's name.
Jackie Weaver, Caroline. Yeah.
Yes, Caroline. I think what we're gonna see from her is the first character to really call all of Beth's bluffs.
Oh, maybe.
Which they're not necessarily bluffs, because obviously she goes through with anything that she wants to, because she's Beth and she's a very scary human being. But I think that's I think that's what we're going to see from. I think they finally brought in a formidable enough opponent for Beth to.
Right. Well, I mean,
there's a rattlesnake on her face, but
well, I think it's the first person, and Beth realizes this. I think it's the first person that actually has real power within the company, within market equities. I mean, the person with Rourke, he didn't really have, you know, much power because he reported to somebody above him. Caroline is that person. I mean, she is the person in market equities, and she is spending her time because she knows there's so much money to be made in Montana. You know, she wants the next Breckenridge.
She wants that Breckenridge, baby.
Yeah.
She wants that ski resort.
She wants all that. So that's a good point. I mean, Roth, maybe she will go ahead and offer it. I mean, like, accept that and make that happen, but not because what does she care about Bob Schwartz? I mean, Bob Schwartz is somebody obviously that Beth wants to take down to the lowest of the low and just fire the guy and kick him to the road, basically, because Beth does not suffer fools. So one part with Beth that I was a bit confused at is that I don't think they alluded to, other than there was a couple moments in episode 3, but why does Rip think that Carter is in such a bad place with Beth right now? I didn't get that.
I didn't,
other than the clothes incident, but
yeah, it felt a little out of place because he was
weird.
The first one to the barn.
Yeah,
and like in the eyes of John and Casey, he was the first one to the barn because they don't count.
Yeah.
And so he is working his ass off out there. He seems to be doing everything right. I mean, sure, he didn't saddle up a horse right, but
who would know how to do that out of that?
Right. I think he was able to learn from that mistake. And it's weird because I do think something's different with him and Beth's relationship, and he feels like she's going to be easier on him than Rip is going to be, which he hasn't met the real Beth Dutton.
No, he hasn't.
But so I think there's something that like that we were supposed to take from that last episode, that anytime he's with Beth, he's going to try to take full advantage of whatever she's offering.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of disconnect though, because it
just
did
felt
seem a little bit out
weird
of place
from episode to episode.
Well, but he said he was going to try to find the man within Carter, right?
Right.
So
and I think we're already seeing that. I mean, not that that's a character that I care much about right now, and I think it's.
Yeah, I'm glad that was de-emphasized in this issue, this episode.
Yeah, he was de-emphasized, but we did get to see some character development in him, and towards the end of the episode, he looked very eager to try and help with the horses and stuff as they were coming out, and I think he's like getting more into being on the ranch. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I get the impression he wants to impress Rip,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
try to, really fit in. And
this is also another episode, and it's happened several times in the show. It doesn't happen that often that we get to see like a really vulnerable side of John again, and almost like a melancholy side of him, because he can't seem to keep his family all in one place, right? I mean, you've got
he's got to get laid.
There was that part that was hilarious.
Yes, that was
a lot, and even he was like, "This is we've got to stop this."
Beth. I don't.
Yeah, come on, Beth. But what I was trying to get to is that with Monica and Casey leaving, and he's basically, I think it was season 3 that we really saw John and his grandson Tate like really getting to have a good relationship together, and building a relationship. And now, like, I thought it was weird when Tate left that John didn't even try and make an effort to go say goodbye. I mean, because he seemed like
I was thinking he was going up to the truck to say,
I was too.
It really seems like he's in a place where he's hurting quite a bit, which is not something that we gets.
I did like to
see that often.
Casey and Monica, and that he said,
Yep.
I thought that was wise. He says, let's just get away from here for a little bit.
Totally. And that's all she needed to hear, obviously. I mean, she was elated at that
cool
point.
Down time. She doesn't.
Yeah.
Be with her people in the res. She'll be fine.
Well, I mean, I think John is very worried that now that she's gone, they're not coming back. And therefore he's basically losing his grandson, his only grandson.
He didn't say goodbye to him. He didn't care.
I know.
Well, no, I don't know. I think he's just hurting a lot, and he doesn't know how to process it. Because he's losing grip on a lot of things. He's got a lot of regrets in his life. We see a bit of that where he wishes he had kept, his wife's wedding ring. He just seems like he's going through a lot this season from a regrets standpoint, in the midst of knowing that he's got to find out who's behind coming after the family, right? Which we get, quite a reveal when Jamie is reading that paperwork.
Wow, you're jumping to the end.
Well, no, that was not the end. That was like, well, I guess it was towards the end, but I
think it was talked the last scene.
Last scene.
Was it? Oh, I guess so.
I think so. I could be.
Well, first we got to talk about Casey going to talk to Jamie, and remember John.
That was a good scene.
He said if he hesitates.
Yeah, that was really good.
This is all orchestrated by him,
Yeah, and I think it's obvious that I think Jamie or Casey is the only ally Jamie has left.
Oh, okay.
In the Dutton family, but maybe even in life. Johnson.
Serious question for the panel. I think that was more rehab care. Hospice care would have been like he's dying. I think that was more rehab care.
Hospice is for people who are,
so I don't
make it within 6 months.
Man, he disposed of that nurse really quickly.
Very fast.
Just like,
all right, we're done.
We're done. We're done here. I'm done.
You're fired.
Okay.
We'll bring him back because he needs to get laid.
Since we're right. Since speaking of, like, where did his girlfriend go? Like that he had.
Yeah,
wasn't that the governor?
The governor, yeah. Like, where did she go? Like,
I know question. I forgot about her.
Maybe that'll be one of the next episodes. He's gonna make a call.
I mean, I don't know. So, do we think Jamie is being authentic with? We do. Okay.
Well, I
see, but I know.
I'm pro Jamie.
You're very pro Jamie. Like, you've wanted him to be redeemed, for 3 seasons now. I just don't know about Jamie. I still just don't trust him, just because he seems like in the scene very much before that, in the scene with the people representing the state of Montana, he was very much on Market Equity's team within that whole conversation.
I was confused about that. That's one of the questions I wrote down is who was, because he's the AG for Montana, right?
He is.
So those people were suing the state, right? Or
Well,
Market
they're
equities was?
suing the state to try and block market equities from coming in and buying
Right.
land and building all their stuff.
And so, who are they? Do we know that, or is it just supposed to be some group that is representing?
Oh, like
the
who are
people of
I think they're just representing their. I think that they are wanting to represent the state of Montana in more of a
like
protecting
environmental
side. Yeah, I mean that side.
They're trying to block the development.
They're trying to block the development, but it is a good question. Like, who are they representing? Because you can't necessarily represent the state when you're talking to the attorney general. I mean, the attorney general is representing the state, so I think they must be representing environmental groups, or maybe they would be.
Could they be representing like the Duttons, perhaps? Like,
no,
and not fully, but could somebody there be pulling some strings with them?
Maybe. The one group that it doesn't appear that they're representing would be Rainwater's people, like the Native Americans, because he would have sent Angela Blue Thunder or whatever she would have sent. He would have sent. Yeah, and we'll see what happens with that, but it felt like more like environmental, or they're worried about Montana and they feel like they have Montana's best interests and the AG doesn't. AG just wants to make money. I mean, basically.
They said it's hard to make any moves when the state is working.
This is a good point, and I agree that anything Will Patton's in, I'm for. So Will Patton is a great actor.
He his dad? Is he?
I still don't think he is, and especially don't think he is now, because it seems like there's something going. That last scene showing his name as a cellmate of this guy that
Brooks
put this whole hit together.
Or what's the guy's name? Riggs or
so if I read it right, it's T. Riggins, like another Friday Night Lights connection. Tim Riggins.
Oh, Tim
Is
Riggins.
Taylor Kitsch going to be in this show?
Taylor Kitsch, yeah, exactly.
When I saw that, I was like, T. Riggins. I'm like, what? I was very confused.
Think, you know what I think it is? I think that Taylor Sheridan's obviously just a huge Friday Night Lights fan, because
he's just giving a little homage.
He cast Kyle Chandler in Mayor of Kingstown, so I mean, he's just a big fan. It's funny because I was reading this thing today about Cole Hauser, who plays Rip, and that Taylor Sheridan did not make him audition. He is like who he wanted for that role just because he was a huge fan. Like, he just always had wanted to work with Cole Hauser, and he's like, I'm not even like Cole Hauser didn't even have to audition. Taylor Sheridan like called him up. He was like, "You want this role? It's yours." And what else is
Taylor Sheridan's so awesome.
Dude, he's building quite an empire.
It's impressive that this guy's been able to do what he's done.
And it's in kind of like, it feels like a short amount of time, but he's been in the industry a long time. But like Sicario hits, and it's like so critically lauded, acclaimed that it just like all of a sudden.
Was Hell or High Water first, or was it Sicario first?
I think Sicario was first. Yeah, I think Sicario was first, and he wrote Hell or High Water. I think David Mackenzie directed it. I don't know who directed it.
Yeah, Sicario was in 2015. Hell or High Water was the next year.
Yeah.
Directed by David Mackenzie.
Okay, David Mackenzie, yeah. Man, I pulled that up.
Wind River.
Yeah, and he wrote and directed Wind River, right? He has not had, I mean, some people weren't like a huge fan of Those Who Wish Me Dead, but I liked that movie. I mean, the title's probably too long, but I mean, it was fine. Anyways.
So do you think he's gonna? So I know he's just like really obsessed with TV right now, but is he just setting aside movies altogether, you think?
No. Well, no, Those Who Wish Me Dead came out this year.
Well, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote and directed that.
He's just really prolific, though, to be able to.
He's doing a lot. It seems like he's doing a lot. He must be
typing scripts all the time. I mean,
he's a really intense writer. Oh, and what's interesting about Mayor of Kingstown so far, at least for the first 3 episodes, he wrote and directed all 3 of them so far. He actually directed the episodes themselves. So
COVID,
I don't
just had a lot of time with COVID, I guess.
Well, there's that. I mean, and I don't know if it's going to be the whole season of that, but at least these first 3 episodes, he wrote and directed.
He wrote the first couple of episodes for this season too, right?
Maybe
I what I want most in this world, I think, is for him and Denis Villeneuve to sign like a 5 movie contract together.
Yeah. I mean, they worked well together with Sicario.
Oh,
I mean, that was a match made in heaven there. I mean, my ask would be, because it seems like they both love like the whole Native American thing, would be him and Scott Cooper to do something together. I think that would be awesome too. I like Scott Cooper stuff a lot, so I think that'd be really cool. So Garrett Randall is seeming to be more important to this whole thing than we thought he was. But what is unclear is the why. Why so vindictive against the Duttons? I mean, he's obviously weaving a web around Jamie. You know, he's in Jamie's ear, and Jamie's like really bought into the whole thing. That's why I think he's not really his biological father. I think there's too much going on there.
See, I still think he is, because isn't that was like a state record type of deal that he found that out, right?
Hey, those can be manipulated. Right? Those can be manipulated.
For sure. But it's just,
he's mad at the Duttons for some reason.
Yeah. Once this all kind of gets settled out, Jamie is going to be in a very interesting place, because, I mean, how is he going to trust anybody ever again? Right. He's finally getting this relationship with his dad. He thanks him for kind of being there for him. And he kind of views him as, he taught him how to kind of man up and be his own person, not just be a Dutton.
I mean, we saw that in the very beginning of this episode when they had that scene together. I mean, it was, I mean, that's pretty devastating for him to find his dad's, his quote unquote dad's name on that list. So, and I felt like
I just can't figure out how.
Why.
And is he going to be loyal to Casey, or is he going to be loyal to his dad? It's going to be interesting to see.
Now we're going to get into that
$1,000 question.
Like, Casey and him had that moment.
Yeah.
I love you, brother. You know, that type of thing. I love you, bro. And John now has bought back into Jamie because, and so, I mean, that's all it took for him. I'm sure he's holding a little bit to the vest, but it seemed like all he wanted to know is if
he's at least not going to kill him right away. He's not going to rip to kick his head off.
I don't think Beth has changed her mind at all. No, she seems still very interested in.
I think she's going to kill him at some point in the run of the series.
Well, because now
what if he kills her?
I mean, he might have to.
She tries to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, he might have. We know he's capable. We know to cover up something.
That would be quite the fiery ending to this.
He's murdered.
Series. And listen, if Beth makes a deal with Market Equities and Rip finds out that I'm worried about that relationship, you know, because if she's trying to like sell off some of the ranch, he's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to.
There's a lot of fireworks left.
Self-sabotage type of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, gosh, we're only in episode 4 of 10 episode season. So
is that
there's.
True? Oh wow.
Yeah, I think they're usually 10.
I ain't got time for that.
10 more. You ain't got time for 10 more, or for 6 more episodes? You got time.
I got Wheel of Time to watch. I've got.
No.
Okay.
I'm out on that.
IMDb says only 8 episodes.
Really?
Is what they have on there. Yes.
What was last season? Since you're there.
Let's see here.
It was 9.
3, I thought it was 10.
I thought the first couple of seasons
3
were 9.
was. Oh, you're not going to number them for me?
Oh, come on.
I'm going to have to count, so bear with me.
We'll keep talking.
Yeah. I mean,
we didn't have any rainwater on this episode, did we?
So season 3 was 10. So season 4 could have been affected by COVID. I don't know. As far as like maybe, but it'd be odd if it wasn't. But it makes sense though, because think about it. If 1883 is starting in December
19th, I think.
December 19th. That still is crossing over a little bit. Which apparently Paramount Plus doesn't care about crossing stuff over, because they've got Mayor of Kingstown running right now, and 1883 is going to be right
That's
around
just
the corner.
about perfect, though.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I believe so, because this next episode will be 5, 6, 7. The 8th episode would be on December 19th.
Oh, dude, I want it to be more than 8 episodes.
I know.
That's
I
not
do
enough. That seems like
Yeah.
they're really going to have to start going completely crazy, like really starting very soon with all this stuff. But
And look, IMDb can very easily be wrong.
yeah, I mean, I think
It could be 10, dude.
Remember the whole
10.
Bad Batch debacle of
Dude.
how many episodes are we actually going to get?
Yes, I remember that, and that was
The
crazy.
debacle of 2021.
Exactly. Well, I mean, in Hawkeye, we thought was only going to be.
Isn't it only 6?
Episodes? I thought it was more than that. I don't know. I thought
it was
Hawkeye.
6.
Oh no, maybe it's Book of Boba Fett that we thought was only going to be 6, but it's
yes.
actually 8 or something like that. Which that's right around the corner too. Dude, December's packed.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, we do. We got time. We got time, Dr. Earl. It's all we got all the time in the world.
Content.
Exactly. Content is king, Dr. Earl. You got to live in the moment, buddy. Well, I got nothing else on this particular episode other than I feel really bad for Lloyd. I think Lloyd is seen better days.
Yeah, I do have one more question. Does John know that Tate shot the guy in the house?
I think, yeah, because Casey mentioned it this episode.
He said he was in the house when it all went down.
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
Maybe
he
doesn't know that.
I'm not sure.
And like I don't know.
John was injured, right?
Right.
Maybe they didn't want to upset John, so maybe they never told him about all.
Maybe they never told him. Yeah, dude, that kid, that Tate kid, he's led a rough life. That poor kid. There's and I'm afraid that like they've brought this Carter character in to kind of replace Tate because they feel like they need a kid on the show or whatever. Not that. I mean, I think Carter's a little
Tate's
bit
not
older.
the best out of actors. Let's just be honest.
Well, let's be honest. He's really good at like screaming uncontrollably. Yeah. He's mastered the art of screaming uncontrollably. Yeah, exactly.
He's
The Carter character seems like something that they didn't need to have, but maybe it'll pay off. Maybe it'll pay off later. Maybe something big. Maybe something big will happen. He's a new Rip. Right,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's the pathway of Rip, man.
That's true.
It gives Rip like a son to sort of mentor and shepherd.
That's true. That's very true.
Although he has no birthday.
He'll never be our son. No matter what he becomes, he'll never be our son.
That's right.
Exactly.
Don't you think that, Beth?
We mentioned it earlier.
He doesn't have a birthday. We didn't talk about his non. He doesn't have a driver's license.
Right. I don't know what my birthday is. We didn't celebrate that in our family. I'm like, it's rough. It's a rough childhood.
But now it's September 29th. Is that what she said?
Something like that.
Something like that.
That's going to be your birthday.
Randomly September 28th. But
he's like,
man, I'm loving the season.
Okay.
I'm loving the season so far. I'm looking forward to the rest of it, even if it is only 8 episodes. We know we won't have any more Jimmy stuff, so we won't have to worry about that. They'll be able to focus on what's.
Just wait. We're talking about Jimmy next week again.
We're done with Jimmy.
He's in this whole season. It's just going to happen.
You're calling your shot. You're calling your shot.
Keep saying it. I've just been burned one too many times, Dr. Earl. It's just.
We need to be done with Jimmy and Mia. Like Mia needs to go to Texas, and we just need to move that over to the 4-6s show or whatever they're going to, the 6s, whatever we want to call it.
Maybe Lloyd's going to go with that crew to the 4-6s.
I don't know.
He says, I'm done with
that'd
you.
Be interesting.
I think, well, remember, I think they announced that Ryan Bingham was going to that show. I don't know they could renege on that, but I mean, I think that they had said that he's going to be on that show.
Yeah, he's already kind of said, well, I'd rather live in Texas or something.
I should have never left.
He should have never left.
We did have 3 very good songs this episode.
Yes.
All I See Is You by Shane Smith and the Expletive Saints, as
wasn't that
refers to them as.
Now, wasn't that they didn't they have some of that song in the last episode?
I believe so. That's the song they opened with. So it would make sense if it's the same one. And then while Teeter is cooking, we've got Waylon Jennings' son, Shooter Jennings, is singing in the background, The Low Road.
I like that.
And then we finish it off by old Willie Nelson.
Of course.
Hands on the wheel.
Hands on the wheel.
Can we send Teeter off somewhere? Like I just don't.
What's wrong with Teeter?
I don't know.
Rhett finally made it. Rhett, we're talking about Yellowstone now, which I know. I think Rhett has started Yellowstone, but I don't know how truly committed he is to the show. But
I need a full commit out of you, Rhett.
You've got to. I mean, you've got to commit to Yellowstone. It's the best show on television, really.
He's all in, man. But you got to go a couple of seasons before you even get to Laramie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree with this sentiment from Nick. Exactly. The filibuster that Rhett. Oh, wait.
He's watching it with his wife.
As in she's liking it and wants to continue watching it?
I think this would be she would.
Do women like this show? I don't.
My mom does.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well,
yeah,
maybe.
dude. This is.
I think she's watching this right now.
It's family drama.
Oh,
dude.
Okay. She needs to jump in
Hi,
the chat and say hello.
Hello, Mrs.
Hey,
Ross.
Mrs. Wyoming. How's it going?
Mrs. Wyoming, is that?
That's what I said. We will definitely be back next week, though, for sure, to talk about episode 5. It's been a really great season so far, and next week's Deucecast Extra is going to be extremely long, so just buckle up, because we've got basically 2 hours of Hawkeye to talk about, and then an hour of Yellowstone. So it's going to be an extra long episode, which is fine. Look, this is the way we need to do this. Yes, Rhett, a mime is a terrible thing to taste. That's a great way to end the episode. Roth, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find the podcast of mine at Good Day for a Movie Podcast and pretty much every podcatcher. Our last episode was on The Color of Money. I am recording one after this on a Japanese movie, Battle Royale. I've got about 45 minutes left of it to watch, but it's
That's a fun movie. Yep.
And then you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Roth from Wyoming. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'm that on everything, as well as in the Deucecast Discord.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good conversation today about what were we talking about today?
TV.
A lot of TV talk today. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. Was that today?
No, Ryan Reynolds was yesterday.
Was it?
It might have bled into today. Yeah, it was interesting. And of course, Dr. Earl is off the grid. He's he tries to tries to stay low, but every once in a while, if you're
like
lucky,
Rip. I don't have any ID, no identification.
No, yeah, exactly. If you're lucky, every once in a while, you can catch him in the Deucecast Discord, hanging out in the pretentious corner, talking about pretentious.
I'll rough you up like
Look at this,
Rhett. Bust in there and rough you up.
Look at that, complimenting the hat wearing technique. I love it. And yes, Rhett, to answer your question, 2 a.m. Central Time is when Hawkeye starts.
Oh, man, that is tomorrow. Oh, my gosh.
2 a.m. Central Time. The first episode is 49 minutes. The second episode is 47 minutes. There you go.
Oh, wow.
That's for you, Rhett.
Based on the Matt Fraction run.
I know.
I heard the director say, she was like, I just love this comic, but they were offering her a 2-hour movie, and she said, that's not going to be long enough. And they said, okay, we'll give you 6 episodes.
I see. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, guys.
Are you staying up for this? 2 hour?
Rhett said it. Yeah, less than 4. Might as well at this point. Roth's got a podcast to record. We're going to let this man go record a podcast. And appreciate you guys in the chat hanging out. It's always a lot of fun. As always with YouTube, if you could share the show, like the show, subscribe if you haven't. We've been slowly going up in subscriber numbers, and I believe it's because of Yellowstone, because it's a very popular show, and I think we've got some Yellowstone people that happen to check out the show, and we've gotten a couple extra subscribers because of it. So thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week for episode 5 of Yellowstone season 4.